Is there enough fire left in the analytics industry in India to grow in US? I mean, you've done something for
I
pharmaceuticals.
yeah, I don't think anyone has even scratched the surface yet. I think the combined revenue of all the analytical players in India, and I'm being very generous when I put word analytics because my definition, there are three definitions of analytics. One is arithmetic, the other one is mathematics, the third one is the real analytics. And I'm putting everything. Anyone, if you can open a spreadsheet and you think you're doing analytics, I'll give you credit that you're doing analytics. I think the total combined market for analytics in India today is less than $250 million total
Okay.
revenue. And I think the next 10 years is going to be over $10 billion.
And why do you
If
think so?
IT
Because
services,
sorry, go ahead.
if IT services is by 2011, according to NASSCOM, is going to be a $50 billion business, I think analytics can easily in the next 10 years be a $10 billion business.
And who are the kind of people that will succeed?
I think people who will succeed are the people who will learn how to understand the business problem because the whole purpose of analytics is to enable the business managers in making better decisions. And you can't help them making better decisions without understanding the business. And I think this is where the so-called the chasm is in India, and it's absolutely overcome. We can overcome that. If you look at it, even in the IT services business, where did India start from? It's basically doing application maintenance and testing and the really low end thing to eventually going into the areas of really high end where you're developing software products for companies, which by the way, India still hasn't reached it. If you look at it, I mean, most of the companies, the IT services companies are still providing services, not developing products. And when you look at the product development actually being done, it's actually the European and American companies like Ericsson's, Nokia's, Oracle's, Microsoft, or Google's, who go out and actually set up their own centers in India to do product development. Because the traditional companies in India have not been able to deliver that for them.
That is true. That's very true. In fact, when the pricing structure arbitrage changed a little bit, they realized that they'll start losing business to the firms that were actually operating in India with
Right.
their own base because the price advantage was gone. And so,
Right.
yeah, yeah, they're still focused on commodities. They're not into true value add. So I do see that. But I guess in that case, when I've talked to quite a few analytics vendors from India who are trying to develop and they get a few clients and they're very happy, which is good, which is good. But they haven't differentiated themselves at all. They're not focused on
Mhm.
any industry vertical. They're not focused on any specific kind of solution. They say, we can do it all for you. And that I think is a flawed strategy. If you take an approach where you say, this is my small beachhead, I'm going to be very good at it, and I'm going to compete with the rest of the world, not just because I am in India and I can do it cheaply. I think that's important, but they just don't have the view of the horizon where they can say,
Right.
this is the
Uh,
one thing that I need to focus on.
yeah, and that's exactly what we did. People do business with MarketRx because MarketRx is not because we have two-thirds of our employee base based out of India and we can do it cheaper than anyone else. They do it because there are only two companies in this industry. The only two companies in this industry that the top 30 pharma company will trust
Hmm.
to outsource their high-end sales and marketing analytics. That's the position that we have gotten to.
Hmm.
That's because of the value and the quality that we deliver. And yes, we have leveraged offshore to drive innovation, to build capacity, to build capabilities that it would be very difficult and more expensive if we were purely onshore based.
It just gave you the opportunity to grow the business because it gave you an advantage from a cost perspective. But it wouldn't have mattered whether you did it from India or anywhere else. The way what you've done, it's
Right,
it's not driven by where you had your people.
right. And it's also having access to talent. Um, Unfortunately, fortunately, if you're in the business which I'm in, it's been a great boon. Is that the world actually does not uh, produce enough smart people who know how to do analytics. So there's a real shortage of people in the whole world, not just sales and marketing, in the whole world. The world doesn't produce enough engineers. The world doesn't produce enough mathematicians. The world doesn't produce enough statisticians. It doesn't produce enough economists. It doesn't produce enough people for 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 the businesses to basically go out and employ these people. And
Are you
also, this is a
talking about
slightly different breed of
statisticians?
people.
Are you talking about statisticians, analysts, and mathematicians, or are you talking about people who do those kind of things and have the capacity to understand business issues? Uh,
I'm actually talking about the both. Obviously, if you can do the latter, it's even better. But I'm even talking about the former. The world does not produce enough statisticians, mathematicians, economists, engineers to basically deal with the amount of data that we are creating as a society. And I think that's why, I mean, I'm a great uh, believer in this, that when you ask me the question, is India already tapped out? And I'm looking at this thing saying, I think India is just at the beginning of, I mean, we are not even in the first inning of a 9 inning baseball game. We're still in the warm-up period.
but one thing important for them to understand is to learn what the business needs. Just going and saying I do commodity analytics is not sufficient because
Hmm.
they do not understand the value. I don't know
Hmm.
about you in pharmaceutical, probably you came across the same situation, but how do you communicate the value? If you say I do analytics or I do data management and I can do regression and stuff like that, that's not helpful. You know,
Actually, that's not what we sell. We actually sell customers saying we'll come and actually do your Salesforce planning, and we use analytical tools to actually, put more facts behind the recommendations. They don't hire us because you can run time series analysis and doing forecasting and creating demand, and then actually align the promotion resources to match up with the forecasted demand. That's not what we do. That's not what we sell. What we sell is that we can actually help you optimize your sales force better than anyone else in the world. And we have the experience, we have the people, we have the tools to enable us to actually do that, as compared to either a consulting company, which could be purely qualitative, or a generic analytics company who's going to come in and actually, tell you, send me all the data, and they'll send you analysis that they won't understand what it means, and you won't understand how to use it, which is totally useless.
but
So you
when you
got to
did it for the
combine
first
both.
time, you didn't have that experience to be able to do this. So what helped you get into the market where you could say,
Well, coming out of college station, I went to work for a company which was actually doing sales analytic consulting from pharmaceutical company. Worked for them for about 5 years. Learned the trade. I developed a very strong relationship with the founder and CEO of that business. That actually the first, he gave me the first check to start my own business. So
so
I learned from the best. I mean, he's the pioneer in our industry. He started, he started and scaled up before anyone else did. I mean, some there's one company which has done a much better job of executing than he did, but he was the real pioneer, and I learned from him. I learned the trade from him. I also learned from his mistakes why he was not able to scale. Today we are about 3 to 5 times bigger than the business that he had built. So I learned the trade from him, as well as learned what not to do.